how would you decide that a new market is definitely the right fit for you? So how would you sort of decide this is where we're going to go next? What would you consider in making that decision?
Well, I think it depends on, of course, what sector that you're in, what industry you're in. And some of what you might be selling is not easy to test online in a virtual marketplace. If you can, that's great, and then you can expand out of that. I think the key is doing your research and making sure you've got enough data to back up what might be common knowledge in your own personal network. I think a lot of companies just rely on their own network. So someone might say, well, I'm going to this market. Do I know anyone else? Whether it's on LinkedIn friendship, which is usually intangible, or whether it's actual friendship where you've got people who've had that experience of going into a marketplace. And then you ask them how they did it. And of course, it might not always be the same thing because it might be in a different time. It might be a different sector. So do your research. And obviously that's what we do. But also, all these lots of different agencies that exist, both national agencies in the UK, you've got Department for International Trade, you've got all the different city agencies, like in London, you've got London and Partners. Around the world, Singapore has it, Austrade has it. They all have information about how to land best in their regions, but they also have information on sectors and industries and clusters that you might want to land in. Because you might, for example, if you're going B2B and you need to know where the biggest advanced manufacturing centre is in the UK in terms of potential client base, it makes sense to go there, wouldn't it? Because that's where your clients are going to be. Or if you're raising money, then you're going to go to London because it raises more money and has lots of VCs sitting in it than anywhere else. So it depends on what you want to do. Do your research. There's lots of information out there. Some of it is out of date and unreliable. Information sources like ours are not. We're all up to date. I'm constantly plugging on. Sorry. But yes, do your research, get your insights, speak to people who've been there if you're lucky enough to have that network. And if not, reach out. I think that's what I found about founders generally and businesses who've been and made that leap. They're very good with their time. And they want to share. They want to share about lessons, often enough lessons that they've learned on the hard way. They'll tell you those lessons, but also good things that you can do. And I think the key is finding those local people initially. Who can help me. Like if I'm going into China, like I help many games companies from the UK go into China to find the right company to work with, because there it's more about joint ventures and possibilities there. Because you're never going to set up a team to understand that market very quickly. Start with a partnership. Maybe that's the best way into a particular market. Do I need to be setting up a company immediately? Maybe not. Maybe clever partnerships. Then I'll get a sense of a market, and then I might move later when I need to have boots on the ground. I need to account manage some relationships. I need to do something with more customer care. Then I need to quickly I've got more clients or end users there. So it depends on which stage you're at. But fortunately now, because we're all internet savvy, aren't we? And we all know how to search for things, and there are much better sources of information out there. But each region, wherever you are around the world, has its own trade promotion agency that's responsible for helping you go global. And on the other side, wherever you choose to land, they have a similar organization that's also want to attract you in. So you get two sources of information of people who want to help you, either with advice or expertise or time or money occasionally.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and just asking for help. There's so many free sources of information, and we saw it recently. So we've been building this company for 5 years now, and we're still learning every week, every month about what we've done wrong or what we're doing wrong, or how we can improve going forward. And post Brexit, we set up an office and went licensed in the Netherlands, and there was a huge amount of help, not only from sort of the UK teams like Tony mentioned, like DIT and London and Partners, but also from the Netherlands, the Dutch embassy, but also Amsterdam itself as a city wanted us to go there, and they helped us sort of set up and navigate and introduce us to the DNB so we can meet the central bank, and I think use all those free sources of information. Ask for help because you don't know it all. And also, just reach out to people. Like I still do a lot if I want to learn about. We're currently expanding into the Middle East. Our knowledge of the Middle East is very, very limited. So I'm speaking to other companies, speaking to founders, speaking to CEOs of local companies down there to really try and work out the market and where's best to land. So definitely ask for help, because people more than often not are willing to help. And if they don't, and they say no, you've lost nothing, you know.
Alexi or Alex, do you have anything to add on that?
I think those are some key tips. I would say maybe, if possible, if you're like an e-commerce business and you have the opportunity to kind of test various markets and see where you land, and then you can pick up and like choose key markets to start to enter into. Like if you're deciding on which market you want to go into first, definitely testing the markets is the best way, I would say, to enter into a market and select as well. But then, yeah, asking for help and actually doing the research once you do have that, main selection of which country you want to enter into. But yeah, I would say, like you said, even going into the EU, it's a big kind of place to tackle. You can't just say EU wide, and it's best just to look at it on an individual country. But the other thing is before you do enter into a specific market, it is important to look at more the legal side of things as well. I'm looking from a tax perspective, a lot of businesses do end up entering into markets without thinking about the tax implications, and then they get caught out by the tax authorities, and you have to go back and fix all of these issues. So it's really important to make sure that if one of those people that you do ask for help from is someone from a legal point of view, whether that's compliance in terms of your products, or compliance from like a tax or regulatory point of view as well. It's really, I would say, important to make sure that your products will be fine entering into those markets before you actually invest the time, seeing actually how to execute it after that.
Yeah, I would just add probably that, I guess, well, first of all, you got to separate kind of business strategy about the entry new market and like operations, tactical steps to do it, right? So on the business strategy part, probably the best thing is to look into your home country, right, and see what worked there and like why do you think it worked, right? So you probably already have some learnings and like some hypothesis to form about like what can work in the market you are entering, and then obviously look at the size of the potential market, look at the competition in there, and then like look at the in terms of like operational part, as Alex said, they look at the legal structure that you need to put in place to trade successfully in this market as well. So it boils down to the legal structure, to tax implications, both in this country and in your home country. And so, yeah, I agree. That's like one of the things that quite a few businesses, it's not that they overlook it, but like for quite a few businesses, it's like the legal part of it, the tax part of it, it's one of the things that stops them from entering the new market, especially like e-commerce businesses, for example, who usually don't have like large legal departments or large international expansion departments who can help them out to find the good structure. And they would just be scared of entering the new market because it looks like a lot of unknowns, and there, I guess, like the simplest advice is to talk to someone who knows the stuff, right? Like simple VAT, like awesome. We obviously helped out quite a few businesses, like hold their hands and help them out to expand into Europe successfully.
Great, thank you for that. And so do you guys have any learnings from your past experiences? Like where would you say, where have you supported? Is there anything you would change? Anything you feel like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Like, and you think that someone might benefit from learning that? Alex, did you have anything specific you can think of?
Well, definitely going back. Oh, wait, Alexi or Alex? Which one?
Alex.
Me. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, going into China was definitely a a learning curve. And to be honest, it was one of my first countries that I'd ever even looked to enter into. And yeah, so working with people locally, I thought was useful, but to a point, you really did have to be on the ground and be able to understand the culture yourself, especially if you're managing that sort of that sort of expansion into the country. So I found that, yeah, quite enlightening, and definitely, yeah, it kind of set the expectation. My favorite quote about, especially working in China, but really working in general when and going international, is adapt or die. And that's kind of stuck with me ever since then. And it's just being able to adapt so many different things, and that goes across the whole business organization as a whole. But yeah, it was quite exciting to be able to do it, and then learn so much. And although it wasn't the route that we ended up taking in the long run, I think doing a softer landing, not actually, like you said, like somebody's touched upon earlier, don't actually launch a company if you don't know what it's. You got to walk before you can run. And I think hiring people locally and being able to test the market and kind of have those cutoff points as well to say, if you're not making you kind of have to be realistic as well, how much investment you're going to put in terms of, until you just think, okay, it's not going to stick. And in case of China, it didn't work for us due to the culture of not wanting to technically comply, if that's the best way to say it. So it wasn't the best market to go into from a compliance point of view, but it was, yeah, so it really just depends on your product as well. So it was a very enlightening experience.
Yeah, I mean, staying on China for a minute, because it's a great market to talk about. I suppose legal contracts mean nothing. So my advice would be get paid up front if you entirely can, because that takes a while. What else to learn? In Brazil, the working day is 3 hours. So make sure you get everything done either an hour in the morning, 11 to 12, or maybe a couple of hours in the afternoon, unless you've had a heavy lunch. So they get a lot done, but they do it in their time and pace. It's a different environment in the UK, that's for sure.
I think from my side, probably the thing I would suggest if you are launching a new market is do as much as you can from outside of the country before you start hiring locally and investing a lot of money on the ground in the market. What we offer via our platform is the ability to set up local bank accounts in 7-8 countries, so you can actually start doing business there locally. And maybe your hypothesis that your product or service will sell really well in the US isn't true, and you'll only find that out when you start, doing business there. But maybe it sells really well in Hong Kong, and then you can go out to Hong Kong, meet people, build that network, get that free advice, and then start to hire people locally. So I would say do as much as you can remotely until you actually see there's real demand in that market. And to Alex's point on the hiring thing, it's hire slow and fire fast. So, take your time to find the right people for your business. Don't rush into anything. Don't be pushed into anything. And if it doesn't work, then make sure you draw it to a close sooner rather than later. Because I think a lot of businesses go into a country, hire a local team, and then just waste money, in that market if it doesn't fit for them. That would be sort of our key learnings.
I guess hiring advice applies both for your home market as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess from our point of view, like what experience shows, it's like I would advise really like focus and have a dedicated resource to look after the expansion. Right, so it's probably hard to do if you are like small e-commerce business with like just a few people, but maybe in this case dedicate some days a week or some time during your day to the expansion. If you have like several teams done, it would make sense to have one person responsible solely on this expansion, somebody who will be thinking about it 24/7, and somebody who will be managing all the like resources with regard to internal expansion. Because one of the things that we see often in like our clients' businesses as well is like people start thinking about it. They would develop the strategy of like what do they want to do, how they want to enter, and then they don't dedicate resources, then don't dedicate people to this project, and then obviously you have a lot of things going on in your home market, and like there are always lots of things to do, right? And then in this case, if you don't have the dedicated team or dedicated individual looking after this project, then obviously like in most of the cases, the project will be much longer than you anticipated, and then probably not that effective or efficient. It's from our side.
Yeah, I think that's all correct, and I always say there's the 6 things that all companies should do, but about 90% do not do when they're entering a new market. So one is detailed location research, cost of operation analysis, adapting your product offering, empowering your local teams, channel to market strategy, I'm going to find my market, and tapping into local networks. If you've got all of those covered, then you've got a much better chance of success.